live stream, and over the course of our time together, I'll answer those questions as they come up. So let's do it. All right, we're going to start with Vicky's question. Sorry, hey Vicky, how are you, mate? We're going to start with Beck's question. If you are doing a reverse diet, but you also want to do the meal plan, do you just add in some extra calories to make up the difference? What a great question. And I love when girls are talking about reverse dieting. And yes, the short answer is that's exactly what you do, Beck. So the nice bit about the meal plan is that you're going to have a base on your calories, which is already done for you, which means that the heavy lifting is already done. Okay. So you can just add in a bunch of calories. So yes, from the start point, if you're starting at say 1600 calories, then what you could then do is start banging in some extra calories from that point. Okay. I would be reversing at about, I don't know, maybe 50 to 100 calories every week or 2 weeks. Okay. You do not need to speed these quickly. The quicker you bring the calories up, the more chance that you might put on a little bit of fat mass, but it's really not the biggest deal. It's really not the biggest deal. The goal of a good reverse diet is to try to help you push your metabolism north. Okay. We're trying to build muscle. We're trying to get strong. And so that's the goal. So yes, absolutely you can. Now, the nice bit about reverse dieting, and welcome to our friends on Instagram, the nice bit about reverse dieting is that when you are on the diet down, you typically let go of a lot of carbohydrates. But the nice bit about reverse dieting is that you are increasing the amount of carbohydrates that you can have again, which is nice, right? It means you're putting the things that you like back into your diet, which is really, really cool. And you can focus on your strength. And I think this is a great time of the year, by the way, to be doing it. Okay, so Stace in the house. I love when you ask these questions, Stace, and it's a big question. Good morning again. So, Jace, I've got my squat form down and it's ass to grass, as you can get down. Now I'm working on building my strength with this movement. I know I could squat heavier, but if I wasn't squatting as deeply. So my question is, do I stick with the current squat depth and build strength as slowly as it takes and just be bloody patient? Or do I bring my squat depth up a little bit and build faster? I feel like I know the answer, but I want to be certain. This is a great question. This is a really great question. And when it's coming from a woman that's saying, I want to squat ass to grass, that makes me really, really happy. So I personally still squat ass to grass. I can definitely squat more if I was if I was to only go to say half the level of depth. And I see a lot of people doing that. I'm going to tell you the reason that I go ass to grass, and I think that it's good practice to do it, because it's not just about looking good, right? It's not just about the aesthetic component. Who wants to be strong in half the range? Like, to use a silly example, imagine I was doing a bench press and I'm really good until halfway, but I can't actually get it the whole way. Like what's the point of that? For this gym to transfer over into your real life, you want to be functional through the entire movement, right? You don't want to be stuck when you get to a certain portion. Let's just take a deadlift, for example. A deadlift is a great exercise where if you get really, really strong in the deadlift and you've got it through full range of motion and good form, one day you might have to go up and just randomly pick something off the ground that you're not even thinking about. And for a lot of people, that movement is what hurts. It injures them, it hurts their back. And that's happening because they never get into that movement. Whereas for you, if you're constantly getting into a low squat depth, that makes your life more functional, because every time you go and get into that low squat depth, it's not weird for your body. Your body's not trying to go and keep you in a limited range of motion. You already know how to do that. So I would personally be persistent. Now, this said, what you can do is, there's no reason why you couldn't do a couple of sets which were less in the range of motion. But what's the end goal, Stace? I think the end goal is for you to build a body that's strong, functional, that you're proud of, that looks good. And I'll tell you what, when I honestly see people going in, and they do this all the time, they go in and they chalk up a bunch of weight and it looks fucking impressive to people who don't know. Oh, you're so strong. Like, to me, it doesn't look impressive at all. If I can see a girl that's got a plate either side and she's going to ask to grass on a squat, or a guy that's doing the exact same thing, I'm like, fucking hell yeah, like that is sick. That's my definite strong opinion. And it looks like it was an opinion of a question from Kim and Mads, and yeah, so I totally agree. Okay, so that's probably the answer you're expecting, I'm guessing. Now, I saw a question from Instagram. Can you explain about L-carnitine? Look, it's not one of the supplements that I would be recommending. There is a way that you can take it through injections, but I personally wouldn't be worried about that at all. I don't think it's, for most people, it's just not that important. You'd be far more important to focus on your overall lifestyle. If you take L-carnitine and you don't do the stuff that works, nothing's going to happen. That's the whole point about supplementation. If you just take supplements and think that they're going to magically get rid of your fat, it doesn't work. Another question. I drink Monster White every day before the gym. Is that okay? I think energy drinks are a big question. Look, what most energy drinks are is just very, very high levels of caffeine. Now, caffeine in and of itself is generally not a problem for most people. It can cause a little bit of anxiety, but I'll have 5 or 6 teaspoons of coffee a day. For me, it's generally pretty healthy. It helps to suppress your appetite, gives you a little bit of energy. The only issue is that you tend to get to a point where it no longer works in the way that it did at the start. And which is why people that are on energy drinks continue to take them, is because the moment that they stop, they're like, fuck, this feels horrible. Me personally, I don't drink energy drinks. And the reason is that I don't want to have that amount of caffeine to be able to operate. And when you talk about an energy drink compared to a coffee, you're basically looking at anywhere between 3 to 5 coffees per energy drink. So that just feels like way too much caffeine for me personally. I'd get like anxious and my heart palpitations and shit like that. So I'm not into that stuff. Okay, we're going to go to Tam's question, and I'm trying to get across all the questions that are coming in live. Can you explain why we wait 3 minutes between each set? It takes me nearly 15 minutes to do one lot of exercise. I mean, I understand, but is it okay to cut this down if you are in a bit of a hurry? So this depends, Tam, on what type of exercise you are specifically doing in your program, okay? There is an inverse relationship. So in other words, an opposite relationship. The heavier you are lifting, generally speaking, the more you need to rest. If you were trying to build and sculpt your body so it looks good, Tam, the whole way that happens is by using something called the anaerobic system. And at the core level, if your muscle fibers are not getting the recovery time in between sets, what's going to happen is you're almost like you're not providing the amount of rest time for those muscle fibers to fully recover so that you can then engage all of those muscle fibers in the next set again. Does that make sense? Now, do you need to wait for 3 minutes in a batch exercise of, say, pull downs? No. Do you need to wait 3 minutes in a set of leg extensions or hamstring curls? No, you do not. But when you are doing a set of squats, set of deadlifts, a bench press, some hip thrusts, these bigger movements, particularly if you're piling on weight, specifically for the point of trying to change your body and build muscle, you do need to wait. I was listening to a podcast literally just before this, talking about the mistakes that women particularly make when it comes to building glutes. And they had a list of the different things. And one of them was just not resting enough between sets, which is taking them away from being able to lift heavy. So if you're just like ramming through your sets, what's going to happen is you're going to end up being fatigued, meaning you'll lift less, meaning the chances of you changing your body are less. Does that make sense? Now, again, it's going to be exercise specific. You do not need to be waiting like 3 minutes between some side lateral raises. You do not need to do that. But for these bigger movements, absolutely. Hopefully that answers the question, Tam. Guys, if you have any questions, bang them into the comments. And we've got some new kids joining us. Hello, Brian. Hey, Michelle. Hey, Babul. Edmund's in the house. Kylie's here. What's going on, guys? So any other questions live? Hey, Monique, I hope you're a good girlfriend. Otherwise, we're going to go to our questions already asked. Is it bad that I don't eat much during the day and then eat more at night? Whew, that's a good question. Is it bad that I don't eat much during the day and I eat more at night? Okay, the long story short of this, like the technical answer is no, it doesn't matter. In other words, when you eat your calories does not matter. Okay? Because what ends up happening is that's kind of like saying, if you drive a car, does it matter when you fuel the car up in the morning or the afternoon? Or does it just use whatever fuel it's got? It's the same thing. But human behavior, that's a little bit different. Why is human behavior a little bit different? Well, my experience is that people that don't eat much during the day tend to binge at night and overeat. Would you agree? Let me know if you know that that's a big issue for you. So what I'm saying here is it really actually doesn't matter when you eat your food, but when people say, oh, I just didn't have time to eat in the morning and I don't even know why I'm overweight. I don't eat much. What usually ends up being the problem is that person then eats a hell of a lot of food in one meal, and it's typically high calorie food because they're feeling crap and unenergetic. So in theory, it doesn't matter. In practice, it does. I think you're far better to spread your food out over the course of a day. Now, I did a podcast. If you haven't listened to it, I would suggest going and listening to this podcast around, is breakfast the most important meal of the day? Well, no, breakfast isn't necessarily the most important meal of the day, but you've got two options. If you're going to eat early, you need to get your protein in early with that breakfast. If you're going to do some fasting, that's also cool, but when you do eat, you need to get your protein in. So a good question is, how many meals should you eat per day? Who'd like to know the answer to that? What's the ideal number of meals to have per day? Is there an ideal number of meals to have per day? Well, the short answer is from a perspective of like theory or science, there is no magic number of meals that you need to eat. If you have one meal, if you have 7 meals and the calories are the same, in theory, it should not matter. But in a lab, it should not matter. But in practice, in real human terms, it probably does matter because of how it changes your behavior. If you're starving by the end of the day, if you're constantly missing your protein target by the end of the day, the men, we want you nudging 200 grams of protein a day. Women, we want you nudging 140 to 150 grams a day. If you're having one meal a day, that means you're going to have 200 grams of protein in one meal as a man. Like, that's impossible. To get that through meat would be like a kilo of meat in one sitting. It's just not going to happen. So if you're constantly missing your protein target, it's generally because you're not eating enough meals. What do I think is the ideal spread? I think 3 to 4 meals a day is perfect. And that is, yeah, so Kate's saying, I'm a grazer, so I have multiple meals. I'm the same, Kate. I feel like I'm like constantly eating all day. Like every, I don't know, hour, I'm snacking on something. And people say, snacking's killing me. Well, no, snacking on Arnott's biscuits and savory crisps, that's what's killing you. It's not the fact that you are snacking, it's the fact that what you're snacking on. As an example, like when I go and stay with my mum, and this is exactly what I did last week, and it was so beautiful. She has like, she's healthy, but she's got a cupboard full of like the fucking Arnott's range of biscuits. And it's so easy to just walk in, grab a couple of the like the ones that don't look sweet. They're just like a thing like this, but they're like 80 calories per biscuit. It's like, it's so easy to just go 1, 2, 3, easy. I've eaten them in fucking 30 seconds. And all of a sudden I've taken in 240 calories of nothing. I don't even remember eating it. Who knows they do that? Who knows they do that? Who knows that they're an absolute stickler? Monique says, I've gone through the opposite. Way not really hungry until lunch and then having to play catch up. This happens for a lot of women, Mon. You have to almost condition yourself to eat. And a lot of women will say, oh, well, the problem is like, I just can't lose weight, because you've taught your body to survive on 0 calories. Like you've taught your body to do that. And then you wonder why you feel tired, you feel lack of energy, you can't build muscle, fat burning becomes really hard, you don't have the body composition you want. And that's on top of having kids, right? Let's remember that part as well. I'm not speaking specifically to you, Mon, just making the point that you can't deplete your body to that point and then expect that you're going to look amazing, right? French champagne for breakfast, Mon. Carly says, it was so funny because I was looking at the bill from the other day, and the $600 of that bill come from 4 people. So good, so good. All right, so Mad says, I just looked up 30% less sugar biscuits, 4 pieces for 250 calories. Well, this is what I mean, Mon. This is what I mean, Mads. Right? It's you don't even know, because they kind of taste savory. You know those biscuits, the Arnott's biscuits, and they're not covered in sugar, but they kind of taste savory. That's an example of the types of hidden calories that we are talking about. Make sense? Okay, guys. Any other live questions you want to ask me, please ask them into the comments and I will answer them. Trish, good morning, babe. Is it better to do a workout first thing in the morning or late at night, and before and after eating? I love this question, Trish. And the simple answer to this is that, again, let's like think about this rationally, right? Rather than with some dumb fitness head mindset, okay? The short answer is whenever you can. And it sounds like a dumb answer perhaps, but the answer is whenever you can. If, for example, one of our greatest ever girls, her name's Linda, I spoke about her last week actually on Q&A. She literally, the only time, she had 2 young kids, and the only time that she could possibly fit in her training was at 10 o'clock at night. And I said, really? You want to go to the gym as a woman, a 24-hour fitness at 10 o'clock at night? Is it safe and all that type of stuff? And she was like, no, I love it. There's no one distracting me. Now, the only downside to that is going to be that, well, do you struggle to sleep? Because sleep is the most important thing. So if you go and do a thing that really wakes your body up when you're trying to transition into sleep, that's going to become a problem, in my opinion. But if it's not a problem for you, then it doesn't matter. See, it all comes down to what works for you. So when is better, morning or late at night? Well, from a purely theoretical position, there's no difference. What's better, before or after food? Well, from a purely theoretical position, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. But from an individual position, my questions to you, Trisha, would be, when can you do it? What can you stay consistent with? Regarding the food piece, do you feel better training, eating before or after, or maybe a little bit in between. So maybe a little bit of food, not just a lot of food. I'll give you my perspective on this from a personal perspective. It is, I 100% want to train in the morning. I remember thinking when I was in a corporate job, I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, I can't wait until I can personally train full time and just go for a gym session at middle of the day, 1 o'clock. In the last 6 years since we've been doing this full time, I think I've done like maybe one session after 12 o'clock in the day. The reason is because for me, I find that if I don't do it in the morning, the longer I draw it out in the day, the less chance it's getting done, because there's kids to contend with and you're tired towards the end of the day. So I like to do my workouts early in the day, Trisha, so that I can position them practically to get them done, feel good, get the little kind of energy boost and feel like I'm ahead of the rest of the world. And psychologically, I think that that's a win. But again, if the only time that you can fit them in is at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. Okay. All right. So the girls are going off about fucking champagne for breakfast. You crazy cats. I love it. G'day, Timby. How are you, mate? Paul's in the house. Tim, if you have any questions, ask the questions live. Why do I struggle? I love this question. I don't know who asked it, but I'm going to go through it. Why do I struggle to trust the process even when I know it works, because I see the amount of transformations that come through the group? What a good question. I'm going to say it again. Why do I struggle to trust the process even when I know it works? Who here feels like they could have asked that question? Isn't that like a question that we really feel like we probably could have asked ourselves, right? Okay, so when you think about the variables in that question, I trust the process. I see people doing the process, but for me, I still struggle. Well, I think that's firstly a you problem, which is a good thing to isolate. I want to say it like this. You could trust the process as much as you bloody want. But if you don't trust yourself, how then can you follow? I could give you the $1 million blueprint, or you could go to a business coach and they say, this is exactly what has worked for 1,000 of my clients. But you go to an investing coach. If at the first sense of change in the market, you panic and you go back to what you think you know or what feels less scary, well, of course, what's going to happen? It's not going to work. The process that you're meant to be following is not going to work. But let's just take an example of the process of investing in the share market. Is what you're trying to do is you're trying to buy when it's somewhat low and sell when it's somewhat high if you decide to sell. Like, that's the process. But if you might trust that that process works, your financial advisor might tell you that that works. But if the market plummets, you panic and you're like, fuck, I've got to sell everything, shit. Well, you don't have trust in yourself to follow the process. And I think it comes from years of speaking to yourself in a way that is, I'm a fat shit, I'm worthless, feeding this kind of story. So how do you turn that round? I think you turn that round by doing small things, committing to small things, and following through. I have seen wonderful men and women in our group change their life completely through the process of committing to something small and following through, committing to something small and following through. And then all of a sudden, a year later, something that seemed small is now, I'm doing the fucking Boston Marathon. I'm doing the Berlin Marathon, and you guys know who I'm talking about. Chris Lupton, I've lost 67 kilos. I'm now running a half marathon. So you've got to start small, okay? You've got to start by like, okay, this week I'm going to commit to not drinking and follow through. This week I'm going to commit to doing 5,000 steps a day and follow through. If you get to the end of the night and you've broken your trust again with yourself every day, that's the ultimate destruction of your trust. And the reason that you can't trust the process is because you don't trust yourself. You can have the best guidance from outside of you, but if you don't work on yourself first, it's not going to work. Does this resonate, guys? I hope this makes a little bit of sense. Okay, and Trish, going back to Trish's question from before, if I eat before going, I feel sick. But if I go first thing in the morning, if I don't have something, I feel sick. So what I do, Trisha, is I just keep my meals really small. So I would have, generally speaking, a banana, a protein bar, and an instant coffee. Remember, you don't have to have a big sit-down meal. That's going to come up. You don't want that, okay? Guys, do you want to ask any live questions, either through IG or through our groups? Anything you want to know, I'm here for you. Why am I always hungry when I'm trying to lose weight? Well, I think that there's a psychological component to that. And secondly, there is a reality to that. The reality is, if you're trying to lose weight, you must be in a calorie deficit, which means that you're not providing enough fuel to keep your body going. So what's going to happen? You're going to feel hungry sometimes. Hunger is something that's like thought of as being, and I get it because I'm the same. Hunger is something that's like, I can't be hungry. Oh, no, you can't be hungry. You're going to be a little bit hungry sometimes when you're on a weight loss phase. That's normal. It's okay. How do you go from hunger? Am I really hungry or am I thirsty? Or am I really hungry or am I emotional? Am I really hungry or am I stressed as shit? Being present with your hunger and trying to navigate that, I think, is very, very important. So you're always going to have, this is the hardest bit about hunger, and this is the reason why things like Ozempic have been so successful, albeit with consequences, is that hunger is removed. It's also the reason why people that have weight loss surgery, so many times I see them putting all the weight back on again, because that hunger isn't just physical hunger, it's emotional hunger. We're like, oh my God, like food is our crutch. So getting to be getting to become aware of whether you're actually physically hungry or emotionally hungry, stressed, that type of stuff is a very different thing, and it's a hard thing. And generally, my experience is, as you start to get closer to your normal weight, a good ideal weight for you, you're better able to balance that hunger. It is well known that in people that are overweight, generally those hunger signals and the satiety signals, the fullness signals, don't work as well. I could go into more detail than that, but the signaling doesn't work as well. Okay, Beck says, why do protein bars want to make me eat more? I thought they were supposed to make me feel full. I've started raiding the pantry, avoiding them. I started avoiding them as they make me want to raid the pantry. Beck, this is a really insightful thing, or really insightful question to ask, actually. So here's the thing. I'm just trying to kind of process this. Why? Well, because most protein bars are sweet, not necessarily sugary at all, but they're sweet. So they're sweetened with artificial sweeteners. And so for a lot of people, they trigger that same thing that a chocolate would trigger, right? It's like, oh, this like tastes good. This gets me in the urge to eat. So this is one of the reasons why, Beck, when we're pushing the whole high protein narrative, we're trying to push down the idea of predominantly whole foods. Whole foods using bars, things like beef jerky and protein powder as supplements in the true sense of the word, supplementing the diet, not replacing it. People often ask like, well, can I then just like eat lots of protein bars? It's not that the protein bars are necessarily bad for you. That's not the issue. It's that you're not getting, it's the human behavior. This is another example. Is protein the same whether it comes from a protein bar or from a piece of meat? Well, the protein might be similar, But the challenge is that what impact that has on your body, one can stimulate to be more hungry. One, like having a steak, for example, not many people eat a 250-gram steak and then go, that really made me feel hungry, right? It's satiating. So the short answer is, Beck, if you've become aware of this link for you, then stop eating your protein bars. If you need to move down the line of, or you would like to move down the line of, believe me, don't eat lots of protein bars a day, Tam says. So if you want to move down the line of more whole foods, I think that's a much better approach. But why do I include it? I usually have 2 protein bars a day. For me, they feel like a real treat. Like, it sounds a bit weird, and you guys might think, well, get a fucking life. But I really love sitting down with a coffee and a protein bar. It's like my favorite thing. Like, I enjoy the 10 minutes to the gym, walking to the gym, driving to the gym with a coffee and a protein bar. Like, it's my favorite. I love it. And that sounds a bit weird, I know. But because for me, it feels like having a Snickers. But then I don't go and raid the cupboard as a consequence of that. So it really depends on your personal human behavior, and getting to know that is a really, really good thing. All right, guys, we might finish off with one question. So did that one. All right. Why do I feel more tired than I did in my 20s, even when I train less? Well, the short answer is that when you were 20, the training was probably the stress. It was the only stress you had. Think back to when you were 20. Like, there's not really much that happens at 20. When we're 20 years old, we feel like life's hard. But looking back at you at 20, life is so easy. Like, it's crazy easy. Maybe you got to do some study, or maybe you've got a casual job or whatever. When you're 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 and beyond, what ends up happening is that you have a lot of life stress. So when you're thinking about your approach to training, and I don't know if Paul's still watching, but I almost feel like Paul's like, nah, man, I just fucking go hard. like, yes, going hard is good. It is good. You need to train hard, no doubt about it. But at the same account, if there's not some balance between your training and your recovery, sometimes we're just like, this is this idea that we just need to train ourselves into the ground. We need to punish ourselves in our sessions. Most often we don't. And if you're going through a period of time where you're recovering from an illness, you are injured, you've got a highly stressful life, you're trying to chase around kids. Like, I'm thinking about all the girls and guys in the group. Yeah, and you say, Paul says, I do, but I rest as well. You must rest as well. I mean, if the bucket of stress that you have at 40 and 50 relative to what you have at 20 is like incomparable. Like, think of all the things in the bucket at 50. Yes, there's some things that maybe you might be financially better off and all that type of stuff, but the compounding nature of the stress that you've got here at our age is much different, and you need to give yourself proper recovery. And this is true for a lot of women. They think that they're going to beat themselves into like a better body. It's just not going to happen. You cannot beat yourself into a better body by training 5 days a week, an hour and a half each session, flogging yourself, and then not eating. You're just going to be spinning the wheels. You'd be far better to drop back to doing either 2 full body sessions a day, or 3 or 4 or 5 15-minute sessions where you literally just did one exercise while you focused on getting your body healed and recovered. And I know that sounds a little bit like, no. Most of us need to drop back a little bit on the amount that we're smashing ourselves. Beck says, oh, the good old 20s. Yeah, stay out till 4 a.m., sleep for 2 hours, hit the gym, sweat it out at the party. Exactly, Beck. Like, try doing that now. Like, Holy shit. Did that not enjoy the 2 hour party at the toddle of night? Exactly. That's the point. Paul's watching in the other group. Monique, seriously, Paul, he's tired. He doesn't go hard. And that's it. You got to adjust. That's why your recovery is more important when you're older, because you've got more life stress. Sleep is probably not the same. There are also life thoughts going through our mind. Usually, when you're 20 years old, you sleep for 10 hours, right? You just like, see ya, ready. Okay, team, I think that's a good little session. I'm just going to read Michelle's comment. I have a client that loves going out for morning tea. So I take the protein bar with the green tea. Yeah, saves me eating the cake. I feel content. Exactly. Again, like everything in fitness, guys, so many things, and you can tell when someone's a decent coach is they won't have this like dogmatic, like it must be this or it must be that. In most cases, what's the best exercise? It's kind of like, well, that one's pretty good. Yeah, that one's good. Yeah, that one's pretty good. What's the best eating? Oh yeah, that one's pretty good. Yeah, that one's pretty good. Do you know what I mean? It's going to depend on the individual circumstances, and not just like what we think the science says. It's like what works for this person to be able to stick to their plan. The number one challenge that we are all working on is adherence. It's doing the thing. If you can do the thing for a long enough period of time, if you can do the thing for 12 months, you will completely change your body. We'll leave it on that point. If you can do the thing for 12 months, you will completely change your body. But we all know that most of us can't do the thing for 12 months. It's like we can do the thing for 2 weeks until life gets hard, then we stop. Then we feel shit, and then we do it again 6 months later. And if you can just do the thing for 12 months consistently, but not intensively, what ends up happening, you change your body. This is where coming back, whoever asked the question about why can I trust the process but not follow through, that's the reason why. You've got to work on your self-trust. Do the thing, watch what happens. Do the thing, watch what happens. And if you do that over 12 months, your body will completely change. Anyway, team, I'm going to love you and leave you. Hopefully that was helpful. Good morning, Nikki, babe. How are you, mate? Hopefully that was helpful today. Anything else that I need to go over with you guys? If you're still watching this and you want to get some of that, the excess merch that we ordered, so we will not have these shirts. You can see Acid tanks, you can see Wolf and Warrior shirts, and of course we've got caps. We did that because I wanted to make sure that we did a stock take first. So if you want to grab yourself one of those things, you can go to the store, just click on the Facebook group and I'll do another post today